Reality is a mirror polished by consciousness. It reflects only the law you choose to obey. William Blake. What if the universe isn't made of matter at all, but of mind? What if every event you've ever called fate was just a reflection of thoughts you didn't know you were broadcasting? The ancients swore there are 7 hidden laws, older than time itself, that bend reality to those who master them. Ignore them, and you stay a pawn of chance. Use them, and you become the author of destiny. Stay with me, because once you hear these laws, you'll never look at reality the same way again. Have you ever wondered why some people seem to bend life in their favor while others keep repeating the same cycles? The Hermetic principles suggest it's not luck, it's knowledge of hidden keys. They've been whispered through tablets, scrolls, and secret teachings for centuries, claiming that reality itself can be mastered when you hold these keys. Imagine life not as a random storm but as a code you can learn to read. Wouldn't you want to know the rules behind the game? These principles didn't come from abstract philosophers locked away in ivory towers. They came from Hermes Trismegistus, a figure blending Egyptian and Greek wisdom, said to have written the Emerald Tablet. Instead of theories, he offered laws, like gravity for the mind and soul, that anyone can test. They work individually, but when combined, they form what seekers called the master key. If one law alone can shift how you see the world, what happens when they all work together? Think about the way most people live, reacting to problems, chasing distractions, and waiting for circumstances to improve. The Hermetic path flips that around. Instead of being a passenger in life, you become the driver. These laws don't just explain why things happen, they show how to create intentionally. And that's exactly why they were guarded so closely, passed to the few who dared to use them. Isn't it striking that knowledge so old feels more urgent now than ever? What's fascinating is that modern science is just catching up. Quantum physics, fractals, neuroscience, fields that didn't even exist when these ideas were born, are now hinting at the same truths. It's like the ancients left breadcrumbs, and we're only starting to follow them. That convergence of ancient and modern is no accident, it's proof that truth echoes across time. Don't you wonder what your life might look like if you applied wisdom that even today feels ahead of its time? Before diving into each principle, take a breath and notice, your reality at this moment is shaped by what you think, feel, and expect. Close your eyes for 10 seconds, inhale deeply, and imagine your mind as a lantern glowing in the dark. Every thought is a beam of light, carving patterns into the world around you. If something as small as a thought can ripple into reality, what happens when we learn to master the source of thought itself? That leads us straight into the first law, the principle of mentalism. It says the universe is not built on matter but on mind, on consciousness itself. It's a radical claim, yet one that scientists and mystics both circle around. If the mind is the foundation, then learning to command it is the first step to shaping everything else. Ready to see how? Everything begins with a single, daring statement: the all is mind, the universe is mental. Imagine for a moment that what you see, touch, and experience isn't built on bricks or atoms, but on thought itself. It means reality is more like a dream you're inside of than a machine you're trapped in. That's why the Hermetic masters insisted, change the mind, and you change the world. But what does that mean for the way you live day to day? Think of a magnifying glass catching sunlight. Left scattered, the rays do nothing. But when concentrated, they ignite fire. Your mind works the same way. Most people live with scattered attention, pulled by notifications, ads, and endless scrolling. The principle of mentalism says that focus is creation. Whatever you give your mental fire to, grows. Isn't that why meditation has always been called a superpower, not just a relaxation trick? Science itself keeps dropping hints. The famous double-slit experiment in quantum physics shows that particles shift behavior when they're observed. It's as if the universe is waiting for a mind to look at it before deciding how to behave. Consciousness isn't a passive witness, it's an active shaper. If even atoms bow to observation, what do you think happens when you bring full, unwavering focus to your goals, dreams, and inner visions? Here's a practice you can try right now. Close your eyes, inhale deeply, and picture one intention as clearly as possible. See it glowing like a portal opening before you, and breathe as though you're already walking through it. Just 20 seconds of this, repeated daily, begins to gather scattered thought into powerful, magnetic creation. Doesn't that feel more alive than drifting through unconscious routines? Of course, the challenge today is distraction. Our attention is constantly sold. Every ad, every ping, every feed is fighting to fracture your mind. If you don't guard it, someone else programs it. That's why reclaiming focus through meditation, journaling, or even mindful breathing is more than wellness, it's survival. The principle of mentalism demands you take the wheel of your own mind. Isn't it worth training the very tool that writes reality? And this is just the beginning. Because if the mind writes the script, then the subconscious is the deep ocean that carries it forward. Whatever you feed into it becomes the waves that crash on the shore of your life. So the next step is diving into that ocean and learning how creation really happens beneath the surface. Ready to swim deeper? Picture your subconscious as a vast ocean. On the surface, you see only ripples, your daily thoughts and choices. But beneath, hidden currents move with silent power, shaping the direction of your entire life. Old beliefs, forgotten fears, and childhood patterns live down there, guiding you without asking permission. That's why someone can consciously want success yet unconsciously sabotage it. Isn't it strange how the deepest part of us is often the least understood? Take relationships as an example. If someone secretly holds the belief I'm unworthy of love, they'll find ways, without even realizing it, to push others away. They might choose partners who treat them poorly or end good connections prematurely. The ocean of the subconscious doesn't care about fairness, it obeys programming. The good news? Programs can be rewritten. Haven't you noticed how one new idea can sometimes shift your whole inner world? The subconscious doesn't distinguish between real and imagined experience. That's why athletes visualize victories before they compete, because the brain encodes imagination like memory. You can do the same with your life. Spend a few minutes daily visualizing abundance, confidence, or peace, and feel it with genuine emotion. The stronger the feeling, the deeper it plants in your inner ocean. Don't you see how this makes your imagination one of your most practical tools? Try this now. Close your eyes, take a slow breath, and recall a moment you felt completely safe and supported. Let that memory glow brighter, filling your chest as if it's happening right now. Stay with it for 10 seconds, breathing as though you're inside that moment. What you've just done is feed your subconscious with a vibration it will keep echoing forward. Isn't it powerful how small practices ripple into the bigger story? But here's the trap: many people rehearse failure more than success. They imagine arguments before they happen, dwell on fears, or replay mistakes in their heads. Every replay plants another seed in the subconscious ocean, which later surfaces as bad luck. The principle here is clear: if you want to change your outer reality, you must first change what you rehearse inside. Doesn't that flip the way you think about your own inner dialogue? And yet, this isn't random self-help. It ties directly into a larger Hermetic law: correspondence. The ancients said, "As above, so below, as within, so without." In other words, your inner patterns mirror back into the outer world. If you're planting seeds in the subconscious ocean, then the external universe becomes the garden where they bloom. So the real question is, what are you planting, and how will it show up next? As above, so below, as within, so without. This isn't just poetic, it's a formula for reality. Everywhere you look, patterns repeat. The spiral in a seashell is the same spiral found in galaxies. The branching of your lungs mirrors the branching of trees. It's as if the universe is one grand design, fractal and self-similar, echoing itself at every scale. If the outer world reflects the inner, doesn't that mean your thoughts and emotions are constantly writing your surroundings? Take the human body, for instance. Your circulatory system flows like rivers across the earth, carrying nutrients just as rivers carry life to the land. The neural pathways in your brain resemble the cosmic web of galaxies. This principle suggests that by studying the small, you understand the great, and by mastering the inner, you influence the outer. Isn't that why spiritual traditions always emphasize self-knowledge as the path to universal knowledge? Sacred geometry makes this even clearer. The Fibonacci sequence, seen in flowers and hurricanes, appears again in the DNA spiral and the arms of the Milky Way. When you recognize these repeating patterns, life stops looking random and starts looking like a mirror. It's a reminder: the state of your inner world projects outward, shaping your experiences. So if chaos repeats outside, what inner storm might still be unresolved? Here's something you can try now. Sit still, breathe deeply, and imagine your heartbeat syncing with the rhythm of ocean waves. Visualize your breath rising and falling like tides, your thoughts drifting like clouds across the sky. For a moment, you dissolve into the larger design. You are the microcosm within the macrocosm. Doesn't this make you feel how connected you already are to the patterns of the whole? But the principle isn't just mystical, it's practical. If your home feels cluttered, it often mirrors an unsettled mind. When you restore order inside, through journaling, silence, or meditation, your outer world responds. Many people notice synchronicities or sudden clarity in their daily lives when they align inwardly. The universe becomes less of a battlefield and more of a dialogue. Doesn't that suggest the external world has always been your reflection? And that reflection doesn't end at structure, it vibrates. If correspondence shows that patterns echo across scales, the next principle reveals that all those patterns are alive with motion. Nothing rests, everything is in constant vibration. From your emotions to your thoughts, from atoms to galaxies, it's all frequency. So if reality is a mirror, the next step is learning how vibration tunes the reflection. Ready to feel the rhythm behind it all? Nothing rests, everything vibrates. Atoms are never still, your heart never stops pulsing, and even thoughts carry waves that ripple into reality. Imagine holding a guitar string, pluck it gently, and the sound fills the air. Your emotions and ideas work the same way. They send frequencies outward that shape how life responds. So the question isn't whether you vibrate, but what frequency you're broadcasting. Science backs this up in fascinating ways. Physics shows that all matter is energy in constant motion, and neuroscience maps brainwaves, alpha, beta, theta, delta, that tune different states of consciousness. Meditation drops you into slower waves of deep clarity, while stress locks you into fast, jagged patterns. It's like shifting radio stations. Whichever one you're tuned to determines the reality you experience. Isn't it incredible that your station can be changed on purpose? Think of the times you've been around someone joyful. Their presence feels like sunlight warming your skin. Now compare that with being near someone angry. Their tension hangs in the air like heavy smoke. These aren't just moods, they're vibrations, contagious and real. By raising your own frequency through gratitude, compassion, or even laughter, you shift not only your inner world but the atmosphere around you. Don't you notice how the right energy draws the right people? Here's a simple practice. Pause for 10 seconds and inhale slowly through your nose. As you exhale, imagine a spiral of golden light expanding from your chest, rippling outward. With each breath, see the spiral growing larger, touching everything in your space. This isn't fantasy, it's a way of feeling vibration in action, aligning body and mind into a higher state. Doesn't that feel more alive than the numb autopilot most people live in? Of course, life isn't about always staying high vibe. Fear, anger, and sadness all vibrate lower, but they're still part of the spectrum. The art lies in not getting stuck there. Just like music needs bass notes to give depth, your journey needs contrast. But mastery means you learn to rise again, transmuting one state into another instead of being trapped. Doesn't that open a door to the next principle, the hidden power of opposites? Because vibration naturally connects to polarity. Every high has its low, every light its shadow. Hermetic wisdom says these opposites aren't enemies but twins, differing only in degree. By learning to move between them consciously, you stop being tossed around by life's extremes. So the next step is to uncover the law of polarity and see how contrast itself can become your teacher. Ready to explore that? Everything in life comes as a pair. Hot and cold, light and dark, joy and sorrow, they seem opposite, but they're really two ends of the same scale. Think of a thermometer. There's no point where cold stops and hot begins, only degrees of the same thing. The law of polarity teaches that what we call opposites are inseparable twins, different only in vibration. Doesn't that make every struggle feel less like an enemy and more like a hidden teacher? Take emotions. Love and hate feel like fire and ice, but they're both intense waves of the heart. With practice, you can shift hate into love by adjusting degrees, just as you can warm ice into water with heat. This is why the Hermetic masters spoke of transmutation, the art of consciously moving between poles. Instead of being a prisoner of moods, you become their alchemist. Haven't you seen how even deep anger can sometimes flip into passion when directed differently? Even nature shows us this law. Day melts into night, tides rise and fall, winter surrenders to spring. Nothing stays fixed at one pole. Resistance creates suffering, but flowing with polarity turns contrast into growth. The wise don't curse the night, they learn to rest in it, knowing dawn is already hidden within. Doesn't that shift how you see your own ups and downs? Here's a practice to try. Think of a challenge you're facing. Now, breathe deeply and imagine it as one pole of a line. On the opposite end, see its hidden gift, fear turning into courage, doubt into clarity, loss into wisdom. Inhale as if drawing energy from the challenge, exhale as if stepping closer to the gift. Just a few breaths begin to reveal how one pole secretly contains the other. Don't you feel how empowering that is? Even in the physical world, polarity holds creation together. Atoms rely on the dance of positive and negative charges to form matter itself. Without polarity, there's no structure, no life. Your own experiences are no different. Joy becomes meaningful because you've tasted sadness. Freedom feels sacred because you've known limits. Isn't it striking that polarity isn't punishment, it's possibility? And here's the loop: if life swings between poles, then it also follows rhythm. Like a pendulum moving back and forth, everything flows in cycles, emotions, seasons, even civilizations. The next Hermetic Law shows us how to ride those waves without being thrown off balance. So, shall we step into the law of rhythm and learn how to move with life's dance instead of against it? Life moves like a pendulum, always swinging back and forth. Highs turn into lows, growth into decline, excitement into calm. The Hermetic Masters noticed that everything in the universe follows this pulse. Oceans rise and fall, planets orbit, civilizations rise and collapse. Nothing escapes rhythm. The secret is not trying to freeze the swing but learning to move with it. Haven't you noticed how resisting change always makes it harder? Look at your own emotions. Joy never stays forever, and neither does sadness. Yet most people cling desperately to the highs and fight the lows, creating suffering. Rhythm teaches that both are temporary phases in a larger cycle. When you observe this, life stops being a roller coaster and becomes more like music. You expect the notes to rise and fall. Doesn't that already take some of the fear out of difficult times? Here's a practical example. Imagine someone who panics during financial downturns, forgetting that markets always move in cycles. By recognizing rhythm, they prepare during highs and stay calm during lows, turning the swing into opportunity. The same applies to health, relationships, and personal energy. It's not about stopping the tide but learning to surf it. Can you see how this law transforms anxiety into strategy? Try this now. Sit quietly and picture a pendulum gently swinging before you. As you breathe in, imagine it moving to one side. As you breathe out, see it returning. With each cycle, feel your body syncing with the motion, steady, calm, unhurried. After 10 breaths, notice how rhythm stops feeling like chaos and starts feeling like flow. Doesn't that remind you that even your heartbeat is proof of this law? The beauty of rhythm is that mastery comes from neutrality. The wise don't get lost in the swing, they stand at the center, watching without being dragged. That's why sages across traditions practice detachment. not indifference, but a steady anchor in the middle of life's dance. From that point, every swing becomes predictable, even useful. Isn't it liberating to know you can stand in the center instead of being tossed around? And yet, rhythm doesn't act alone. Every swing brings compensation, an equalizing force that balances what's gained and what's lost. If rhythm is the movement of the pendulum, compensation is the invisible hand making sure nothing gets stuck too far on one side. So let's open the next principle and see how balance works in ways we often overlook. Ready to uncover the law of compensation? The universe is always keeping score. Every gain carries a counterbalance, every loss hides a hidden return. This isn't about punishment, it's the built-in harmony of existence. Think of it like scales. When one side dips, the other eventually rises to meet it. That's why moments of pain often produce wisdom, and times of ease sometimes invite complacency. Doesn't it feel reassuring to know that balance is always at work, even when life looks unfair? Take wealth as an example. A person may accumulate vast riches but lose peace of mind in the process. On the other hand, someone who endures hardship often develops strength, empathy, or vision that later pays back tenfold. The law doesn't mean tit for tat, but it guarantees equilibrium over time, sometimes across lifetimes, if you believe in karmic cycles. Haven't you noticed how struggle often plants the seeds of your greatest growth? Even in small, daily moments, compensation is at play. Skip sleep for too long, and your body eventually demands rest. Ignore your emotions, and they erupt in ways you didn't expect. This principle whispers that nothing is free of consequence. Everything seeks its balance, whether in health, relationships, or ambition. Isn't it clear that ignoring this law is like ignoring gravity? It'll catch up with you anyway? Try this exercise. Pause for a moment, close your eyes, and recall a time when life seemed to take something from you. Now, breathe deeply and ask, what hidden gift came with that loss? Maybe resilience, a new opportunity, or clarity you didn't have before. Stay with the memory for 10 seconds, letting the balance reveal itself. Doesn't this shift the way you interpret setbacks? When you really see it, compensation stops looking like cosmic punishment and starts looking like cosmic justice. Life becomes less about fighting imbalance and more about trusting the process. This is why gratitude is powerful. It tunes your eyes to see the hidden return that's already on its way. And when you spot it, you work with the law instead of against it. Doesn't that make faith itself a practical tool? But here's where it gets even more fascinating. If compensation ensures balance, then what causes the events that set the balance in motion? The ancients said nothing happens by chance. Every ripple comes from a cause, every effect from a seed planted. And so, the final Hermetic law brings it all together, the law of cause and effect. Ready to discover how to step out of randomness and into mastery? Nothing in life is random. Every event, from the roll of dice to the meeting of two strangers, unfolds because of causes, seen or unseen, that set it in motion. What looks like coincidence is often just complexity beyond our sight. The Hermetic masters taught that most people live as effects, pushed around by external forces. But the wise become causes, planting seeds of thought and intention that ripple forward. Isn't it empowering to realize you don't have to wait for life to happen to you? Think about a gardener. The harvest in autumn isn't an accident, it's the result of seeds planted months before, soil cared for, and water given. Your life works the same way. Every choice, thought, and emotion is a seed dropped into the subconscious field. Over time, it sprouts into circumstances, opportunities, or challenges. Haven't you noticed how people who dwell constantly on problems seem to attract more of them? Modern science mirrors this. Physics shows us that motion follows exact laws, and psychology demonstrates how repeated habits carve out destiny. If you set your alarm, write your goals, and take daily action, the effect of success feels almost inevitable. On the other hand, drifting without intention hands the steering wheel to chance. Isn't it striking that the smallest intentional acts, like morning journaling, can alter the entire course of a day? Here's something you can try right now. Pause, inhale deeply, and think of one change you want in your life. See it as a seed glowing in your hand. As you exhale, imagine planting it into fertile soil, covered and ready to grow. Every repeated thought and action becomes water and sunlight for that seed. Doesn't this make the idea of cause feel more tangible than theory? What's liberating is that cause and effect isn't rigid fate, it's creative freedom. You can't always control the effects already in motion, but you can choose new causes starting today. Each thought of gratitude, each disciplined action, each courageous choice plants seeds that reshape the future. The more intentional you are, the less you're at the mercy of external forces. Isn't that the true definition of mastery? And here's the loop. When you step back, all 9 principles weave into a single tapestry. Mentalism, correspondence, vibration, polarity, rhythm, compensation, and cause and effect. They're not separate laws, but facets of one living code. Together, they shift you from a passive observer into a conscious creator. So the real question becomes, how will you use these ancient keys to unlock your own reality? So now you've seen it, reality isn't random, it's coded. These Hermetic laws are alive in every breath, every choice, every relationship you touch. They're not abstract theories but levers, waiting for you to pull them. The moment you start applying them, life stops being something you endure and becomes something you design. Isn't it time to test them for yourself instead of letting the pendulum swing you blind? Begin small. Focus your mind for just a few minutes daily, rewrite one belief in your subconscious, notice one vibration you can shift. Watch how the outer world starts to mirror back what you've tuned within. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it, because when more people live consciously, the whole rhythm of the world changes. And don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell, and like this video so you never miss the next step of this journey. And let me ask you, what law spoke to you the loudest? Drop a single word in the comments, and let's see which principle resonates most across this community. It might surprise you how many others feel the same. Because this is only the beginning. The laws you've just discovered open the door, but behind it lie even deeper mysteries, secrets of energy, death, and the soul's eternal memory. On the end screen, you'll find the next video waiting. Step through it, and continue unlocking what was never meant to stay hidden.